sort of deeply record the Falcon breakup? Thank you.
Okay, I think I heard the last part as well. There's a lot of different triggers that we look at. There's location trigger, GPS. There's understanding velocity and accelerations on the vehicle as it's ascending. There's understanding just the different forces at work. We're looking for anything that's off nominal, right? There's actually many different parameters that we're looking at and we're assessing. Those launch escape triggers have actually been under assessment for many years, and working closely with NASA and actually other government agencies to understand what all could happen and make sure that we would escape at the right point in time. So I can't really give you a specific list of what they all are, but there's many of them, and it has to do with anything that's off nominal about the behavior of Falcon, and then we set the parameters for many different metrics and set the thresholds for launch escape. And certainly we will also be looking at Falcon. The primary objective is Dragon, but we'll also be paying attention to what Falcon's doing tomorrow.
But we picked this test condition. I mean, we went through and jointly assessed, what we thought would be kind of the best test for us to do as a joint team, right? And picked that particular time frame because it was a stressing test for us. It's a very it's an area where we could collect a lot of data on the overall systems, and those are all part of the kind of the factors that we weighed together to determine this particular test case.
And now on the phone, we have Robert Perlman from Collect Space.
Hey, thank you. What is to become of this Dragon after this flight? If it's recovered successfully, is it being refurbished for future use or being retired? And is there any interesting or commemorative items on board acting as ballast?
Asking Benji to reveal all his secrets.
I'll tell you all of my secrets. The Dragon, as I mentioned, it's a full crew Dragon, and our expectation is to be able to recover it well, and we'll assess what it looks like afterward. There are a lot of forces in going through a launch escape. We want to make sure that Dragon, if it was something we could refurbish and use again, we would look at that certainly, but we'll need to assess that afterward. And in terms of any goodies that are hidden in Dragon, everybody always wants to do that, but I think we make an effort to focus on the test and make sure that we've loaded the Dragon with the sensors that we need to get the data that we need. That's the real treasure.
We're going to take 2 more phone questions and come back in the room. We have next up Eric Berger from Ars Technica.
Hi, good afternoon. My question is for Kathy. Can you talk about what happens after this test, Kathy? Are there additional parachute tests or things like that, or is it kind of now paperwork and analysis and sort of making sure that everything, all the data you get, kind of sets them up for a crew mission? Maybe just walk me through the timeline now. After tomorrow.
I'll get started, and Benji can fill in if I miss anything. I mean, I think the big activities, obviously, this is a big activity for us to get through this test. This is a validation test, so obviously, your launch escape system has to cover all kinds of scenarios, and so this test is just one to make sure that all of our models and everything else, all the data that's anchored to all those tests that Benji talked about before operates the way we were expecting it to operate. So going through, getting this test done, us both, going through the data, making sure there's not any surprises is obviously a big milestone for us, Eric. We do have some more shoot tests to do, system level tests. I think so far the upgraded system that the SpaceX folks have been developing has been operating very well. And actually, the upgraded chutes are on the in-flight abort test too. So this is another, we keep talking about all the great things on this test, but us getting another system level test on the in-flight abort test is another great test for us. We are still working through paperwork and everything else, but as we say, it's not just paperwork, it's really all making sure the teams have reviewed all the data from all the work that the SpaceX guys have been doing, along with work that the NASA team's been doing to make sure that we're in sync on where the systems are and certification of the system. We are really human certifying these Dragon spacecraft and Falcon 9. And so us stepping through that together and making sure that we've dotted all the I's and crossed the T's before our crewed demonstration flight is very, very important. So we've got work to do, but honestly, getting this test behind us is a huge milestone.
And now we'll go to Tim Fernholz with Quartz.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Just a quick follow-on about the test profile. How fast will the vehicle be going when the launch escape system is triggered? And what kind of analysis do you do to compare that to when it may be triggered later in flight? We mentioned the Soyuz case. That happened, I think, a lot later in the flight profile. So how do you know it will work going much faster at a higher altitude? Thank you.